Ms. Dugan brought out that testimony and asked Ms. Peters whether or not she had said that to Officer Jernigan. Showed her the report. She acknowledged she did in fact say that, and then offered the explanation. I would move that impeachment on that statement regarding Ms. Peters would be improper because it would not be impeachment at this time.
Brent.
She didn't show her the report. She showed her the written statement that she made, which doesn't say the same thing as the report. The written statement says she tried to call her at 9:30 or 10 and didn't get a hold of her, whereas the police report reflects that she verbally advised the officer that she actually spoke to Ms. Peters at 10 p.m. So, and that's what she said on the stand. She said that she did not speak to her sister that night. So, same as last time, I want to call Officer Jernigan to impeach her testimony on that point.
I'll approve it. So, anything else?
There's one thing that I needed to advise. I haven't talked to Mr. Fuchs about it yet. The envelope that I admitted yesterday, I grabbed the wrong one. The message on the outside is basically the same. I grabbed the one from November 10th as opposed to the 17th. It wasn't published. My suggestion on that would be that I authenticate the correct one through Santos, and that we just swap it out before it goes to the, so that the jury doesn't see the wrong one, so that the correct one is in front of them.
It's true. Chief?
I need to see both those envelopes real quick.
I would, if y'all agree to it, I would just go ahead and swap them out at this point in time, but let y'all do that when we take a break.
Yes.
If there's a dispute on that, you can let me know, but I assume y'all can agree on that, and I just swap it out for the correct one.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Who's going to be your first witness?
Officer Jernigan.
Okay. When are you going to call Santos?
Right after that.
Y'all still think we need to have him in to make sure he's going to testify outside the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just doesn't hurt to do it that. Make sure what he's doing. Mr. Prince, I want you to keep a tight rein on Mr. Santos. I don't want to have to get engaged and cut him off, but if he starts going off on rabbit trails, I assume the state's going to be objecting, and I'm going to have to involve myself. I know that he has a tendency, based upon what I've seen before, to want to go off on his own tangents. He's not here to say whatever he feels like saying, so keep a pretty tight rein on him.
Yes, sir. I have the section that the court provided to both of us as to what he's permitted to go into, highlighted, and I intended it to be a pretty short and to the point based on the specific things the court said to ask about.
Okay. I didn't have Linda file that. That probably ought to be filed because that would be what we're operating under for today. Did you communicate, Ms. Cunningham? She did a transcript for me and asked me whether to file it. I told her not to file it at this point in time, but if he's going to testify, we need to have it filed. I have a copy of it, which she probably read as the original. It's an excerpt from July 28, 2017. If that's a problem, I'll just file a copy.
It's not a problem. She'll be in at lunch. She'll get ready for her.
Just so it gets made part of it. All right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right. We'll see you all at 9.
You want to see that envelope? Yeah.
Remain standing for the jury.
to the jury just a moment. Good morning, thanks for being back here this morning. I know we kind of just roll along and don't give you too much information sometimes. Sometimes it's a little bit up in the air. Trials aren't totally predictable on scheduling and things of that nature, but I wanted to give you a little bit of update. Talked with the lawyers yesterday afternoon to kind of get a feel for it. So what we're probably looking at is finishing the testimony on Monday. Hopefully not a real long day on Monday, but whatever it takes to get everything concluded. We'll probably be through with the evidence on Monday. But we won't go right into closing arguments and instructions, because that's the next thing that will happen. But we want to give the case to you as early as possible, so we're not starting late on the day. So our tentative plan would be, we would instruct you and have closing arguments on Tuesday. You know, I have to caveat all this is subject to something happening with a witness or whatever, but this is our best idea. We want to start early in the day, because once you start deliberating in a first-degree murder case, if you are not able to reach a verdict during the day, we do have to sequester you overnight. So that means you'd be taken to a hotel and kept together overnight. So if you weren't able to get a verdict on Tuesday, you'd probably be staying with us Tuesday night, and then deliberations would continue on Wednesday. So that's our best idea, just to kind of give you an idea what's going on. Of course, you're aware, we've told you that if there is a first-degree murder conviction, then we probably have another day or so proceedings after that as to the penalty phase. We would probably do that Wednesday or Thursday, depending kind of how long deliberations take. But just to give you an idea where we stand. So we are still on schedule to complete it within the 3 weeks that we told you when we started. So that's kind of where we are schedule-wise. Like I say, sometimes things don't work out exactly as we planned, but we have good lawyers working on the case, and that's their best estimate. All right? So call your next witness, Mr. Brett.
Your Honor, this time the defense will call Officer Candice Jernigan.
We have her report.
Okay.
You were previously sworn to remain under oath.
Yes, sir.
You can have a seat. Just for record purposes, state your name again, and you've been here once before.
Officer Candice Jernigan with Tallahassee Police.
Proceed, Mr. Brent.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Jernigan, you've already indicated that you responded to the crime scene at Ms. Peters' house, 908 Saddle Creek Road on November 20th, 2010, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And while you were there, you had a chance to make contact with the victim's sister, Monica Peters?
Yes.
And isn't it true that Monica Peters advised that she talked on the phone with her sister, Brandy Peters, the night prior, 11/19/2010, at approximately 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Yes, sir.
So this is on November 20th, the day that the bodies were discovered of Brandy Peters and her children, right?
Yes.
And you said you spoke to Monica Peters that morning after their bodies were discovered?
Yes.
All right. And fair to say that Monica Peters, the sister of Brandy, the aunt to these children, was shaken up?
Definitely. Yes.
And I guess she was very emotional, to say the least?
Yes, she was.
All right, so we heard from you the other day. You were part of the group of first responders that entered the house and found these children.
Yes.
when y'all were on scene that day, were y'all giving details to friends, family who were outside the home of the fact that these children were found in the tub?
Definitely not, no.
Why not?
Because it's an ongoing criminal investigation. Even with that said, the children had not even been identified, but I wouldn't share any of that. It wasn't my place to.
So you didn't know at that point who the children were. I guess at first you didn't even know how many there were in there, and you didn't know how they died.
No.
All right, and the fact of not disclosing any details about an ongoing investigation, that's a policy for all officers in your department,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And the purpose of that is to protect the details of an investigation?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Is it fair to say, Officer Jernigan, that there were a lot of officers and investigators on scene that morning?
Yes.
And of course, you weren't with all of them all the time, correct?
Correct.
And while details of various offenses are not made generally available to the public during the pendency of an investigation, information about investigations of any kind will be shared with victims or family members of victims, correct?
It really depends on the situation, probably, but we would try not to, especially in that case, something so severe.
When were you involved in notifying next of kin relating to the murders?
An official notification, no, sir.
Who would have been involved in that?
It just depends on who, maybe the investigator or a victim advocate or both. Somebody sworn, at least.
And at some point, close in time to the event, though, even if you haven't made an arrest, the family's going to be notified regarding the deaths and at least some details. Is that true?
I would think they'd be notified at some point.
And provided some details at least as well.
I don't know. I don't know what they would do with this specific case and that many bodies, those many, the number of bodies and everything. I don't know how they would have addressed it with notification.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. No further
You're
questions.
welcome.
Peter, question this would, all right, you can step down. We need to keep running first.
Should we retain just?
All right, remain under the rule, please, would you go back to this? Next witness.
This time around, the defense will call James Carlos Santos.
2 minutes.
We have that issue that we want to address outside of the jury,
What issue?
with Mr. Santos about his testimony.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I forgot, what are we gonna do with that? Okay. We'll just go sidebar. Let's do that.
Now, can we approach?
We're going to, but not right this instant.
No.
Mr. Santos is in custody, so it takes a little bit of moving around to get the in custody witnesses here. So be patient for a moment. Parking arrangements working out all right for everybody. So we've displaced some county employees, so they'll be glad when the trial's over. I need to have him over here. slide a little bit more forward, if you would. The microphones are on the railing up there. Just want to make sure you're close enough to be heard. You may proceed, Mr. Prince.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Santos, can you please state and spell your first and last name?
All right, raise your right hand and be sworn, please. We need your sign. Okay, or you go.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Santos, can you please state and spell both your first and last name for the court reporter?
Yes, sir. James Santos, James Santos.
Mr. Santos, did you know Brandy Peters?
You don't need to lean forward, Ms. Santos. You just sit up nice and straight and speak clear, loud and clear. We'll pick you
Yes,
up
sir.
fine. It just didn't need your way back from the microphone. Go ahead, Mr. Prince, I'm sorry.
Did you know Brandy Peters?
Yes, sir.
How did you know her?
I met her around 2000 or 2001.
Okay, and what was the nature of your relationship with Ms. Peters?
She transported narcotics for me.
How did she do that?
She would pick up a car in Atlanta or here in Tallahassee and drive to Texas.
How did she become involved transporting drugs for you after you met her?
After having conversations with her a couple of times, I asked her would she like to make some money. And
Okay. Did you already have an existing drug trafficking organization?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Was she one of multiple people who transported illegal narcotics for you?
Yes, sir, she was.
And so where would she transport narcotics for you?
To Atlanta, here in Tallahassee, and sometimes Chicago,
Where did she get the drugs from?
Texas.
And you would go with her?
I only went maybe once on the trip with her.
Okay.
Usually somebody else went. Sometimes she went alone.
Now, at some point, you ended up going to prison, correct?
Yes, sir.
Without going into the nature of any communications you had with anybody, were you able to remain in contact with your associates and continue directing your drug trafficking organization?
Yes, sir.
How did you do that?
By cell phone or mail, and visits. I got visits as well.
Okay. And you would send directions to various people in all of those means?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I guess let me cut to the chase, and then I'll come back and ask some additional questions about it. At some point, did you end up directing associates of yours to kill Brandy Peters?
Yes, sir, I did.
And why was that?
She had stolen money and drugs.
Okay. Without going into the nature of any communications, how was it that you found that out?
I contacted an associate of mine, and he informed me.
Okay. Now, you were the one that had brought her into the drug trafficking organization, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I guess explain how the flow of drugs went. Where did your drugs that you were getting come from? Who did you have a supplier relationship with?
From Mexico. Well, the
Okay.
drugs naturally came from Colombia, and from Colombia to Mexico, and from Mexico to Texas.
Okay. On the Colombian supply side, did you have a particular point of contact?
Yes.
Who was that?
Angel
Angel who?
Aviles.
And what was his role?
Pretty much, he dealt with the Colombians and made sure that the drugs got to Mexico. And once it got to Mexico, then my guys from Las Vegas got it from Mexico to the border, and I would get it from there. Either Laredo, Brownsville, Texas.
Okay. When you say the Zetas, you're talking about the Los Zetas Mexican drug cartel?
Yes, sir.
So they would get the drugs from Colombia and deliver the drugs to a Texas border town. And
Yes.
You and your associates would get the drug.
Jackie's leading them.
Overruled.
You and your associates would get the drugs from there.
Yes.
And what did you do with the drugs once you guys got them?
I distribute them throughout the United States.
Okay. So, how did you plan to have the hit carried out once you had directed that it be done?
Well, first I had to get some people here in Tallahassee. I didn't have many guys here, so I had to bring guys from Texas and Atlanta.
Were you able to get Anybody local to assist?
Yeah, well, those guys was able to get some local guys.
Okay.
They knew.
Who were the local guys?
I have no idea. I don't know their names, but
Okay.
I just know they was from here.
Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you one of your prior letters to the court?
Yes.
My first witness, Your Honor.
Good night.
Just for identification, I'll call this defense 27. Read this silently to yourself, not out loud, please.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, yes, yes.
Having had a chance to review that, who was one of the local guys that was recruited to assist?
Jit,
Who's that?
a guy named Jit.
Anybody else?
It was a couple of guys. I don't really remember all their names.
Okay. Would it again refresh your recollection if you were directed to a point in your prior letter that named him?
Yes.
May I approach the witness again, Your Honor? This is the same defense exhibit. Again, read it silently, not out loud.
That's the same person.
Okay.
Jit. It's the same guy.
Okay. And just for clarity's sake, what we're referring to is a letter from 2017 that you sent to the court regarding this case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was this guy you referred to, Jit? What was his real name?
Passmore.
Paramore?
Paramore.
Objection, Your Honor, including. Right. Let's let the witness testify, not you, please, Mr. Prince.
Yes, sir.
If you don't remember, tell us you don't remember, Mr. Santos.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember or no?
Yes.
And so what's that guy's real name, if you know it?
Paramore. I called him Jit, though, and most people call him Jit, so that's why I didn't remember.
Okay. Did you, now, if you did, I don't want you to say what you guys talked about, but did you have any direct communication with him or no?
No.
Okay. How was he identified as somebody that might be willing to help you?
A friend of mine knew him.
Okay. Do you know how many people were to be involved in
Yes.
carrying out your order?
Yes.
Okay. How many people were to be involved?
7.
Okay.
What did you say?
7.
Now, you indicated just a few minutes ago that Miss Peters, you ordered Miss Peters killed because she stole drugs and money.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, since you've been back here in the Leon County Jail awaiting testimony, you've made jail phone calls, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's on a recorded line.
Yes, sir.
And you indicated in one of those calls that something to the effect of you wouldn't have had somebody killed over whatever the amount was, $90,000 or something like that.
Absolutely.
Can you explain that, or is there any reconciliation between what you're saying and what you said on the jail phone calls?
Yes. I was explaining to a young lady that I just recruited to do some work for me, and she was kind of afraid that something could happen to her. And I was like, listen, I wouldn't have nobody murdered over $90,000. Trust me, it was a lot more money than that. I spent that in strip club.
So when you said, you're referring to a conversation with this on the jail phone call?
Yes.
Okay. And so you're trying to get that person, whoever it is,
Objection, Your Honor, including sustained.
what was your intention in telling that person on the phone?
I was trying to get her to go to Valdosta for me.
Okay. So you're trying to put her mind at ease, essentially?
Yes.
Okay. You've made multiple inconsistent statements about your role in this case over many years now. Is that true?
Yes.
Why is that? What I mean by that is you haven't always admitted that you actually ordered the hit. It's taken a lot of time for you to come forward with that information. You've provided progressively more details over years. Why is that?
Quite a few reasons. For one, I didn't want to be charged, and for two, I wanted to make sure that it was feasible for me and my organization. At first, they didn't have a problem with the situation, but once they began to believe that it's possible that I might have been involved in her thievery, then I had to let it be known that I'm the reason why she's no longer here.
So your associates, your concern was your associates, I want to make sure I'm understanding you, believed or may have believed that you were involved in her
Exactly.
theft.
When you bring a person in your organization, when they work for you, you're responsible for them. I vouch for them. They didn't know her other than through me, so I let them know that she was a reliable person. She was loyal and whatnot.
So why now are you willing to take the stand, admit under oath in open court that you directed these murders to take place?
Well, because I'm on an active yard in the U.S. Penitentiary, and being known as someone who stole from a cartel, and I'm on the compound with them. In fact, one of them was my roommate. So that could be very dangerous for me if I didn't.
You mentioned knowing Angel Avila a few minutes ago as well. Did you ever meet him in person?
I think twice.
Okay. Were you able to communicate with him?
Yes.
How was that?
We talked.
I mean, what language did you speak in?
English.
He's able to speak English?
Well, no, I have a friend of mine that interprets it, but yes, he understands English.
Okay. And without going into any conversations you had with Mr. Avila, what was your purpose for meeting with him?
The first time was to establish some runs coming out of Laredo.
Okay. And you said there was a second time?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of that?
Some money. It was an issue that had happened with some money issues that we had.
Okay. Did you ever communicate with Mr. Avila about this case?
You mean before or after it happened?
I'm sorry. Well,
before or after it took place?
Either one. And if you did, don't tell us what you said. I'm just asking whether you communicated with him regarding these murders.
Not after it happened, no.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand you. Through some means, cell phone or letter or runner, you communicated directions to some folks to have Brandy killed. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
No further questions for the witness.
Cross.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did have one other thing. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Approach, please.
No.
Okay. I'm going to object.
Show him. No, it didn't look.
Yes, sir. Mr. Santos, do you recognize this envelope?
What is it marked?
Yes.
It's not yet. I'll refer to it as 16B.
Okay.
Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize that to be your writing?
Yes, sir.
Is this the envelope that contained a letter that you sent to Brandy Peters?
Yes, sir.
And what date did you send this envelope?
On November the 17th, 2010.
Is this your writing on the other side of the envelope as well?
Yes.
So this is the envelope containing the letter that you sent to Brandy Peters, I guess, 2 days before her murder?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time I'll request to move in evidence what's been marked as 16B into evidence as defense 16B.
It'll be admitted.
No further questions for the witness.
Cross.
Mr. Santos, you said that you knew Brandy Peters.
Yes, sir.
You met her in 2000, 2001.
Yes, sir.
How old was she?
I don't recall, sir.
About how old was she?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how she was. I didn't ask her how old she was.
You didn't ask her how old she was?
No, sir.
Did you look at her?
Yes.
How old did she look?
I don't recall. That's from like 2000, man. I don't remember that.
You don't really recall what she looked like?
No, I don't remember. I don't recall how old she looked. I recall what she looked like.
What she looked like?
A short, dark-skinned female.
Short, dark-skinned female is what you remember.
Yes.
What was her hair like?
I don't remember.
Okay. Was she heavy set? Was she skinny? Was she...
No, she wasn't heavy set.
She was not heavy set?
No.
Okay.
Put your hand down, please, Mr. Santos, when that's in front of your mouth, makes it hard to hear you.
How tall was she?
I don't remember, sir.
You don't remember how tall she was? Was she taller than you?
No.
How tall are you?
5'8".
Okay. Was she shorter than you?
I don't remember.
Don't remember how tall she was either?
No. This was a long time ago, so.
Sure, but you had this girl killed. You don't remember how old she was? You don't remember what she looked like?
No.
Not at all. This girl that ran drugs for you all these years. You don't remember what she looked like? You don't remember how tall she was?
I just told you what she looked like. She was a dark-skinned black woman.
And you met her in 2000, 2001.
Yes, sir.
You remember what it was when in 2000, 2001?
No, sir, I don't.
Don't remember? Do you remember where you met her?
Yes. Our first meeting took place at a mall here in Tallahassee.
Okay. Do you remember whether it was wintertime, summertime, hot, cold?
No, if I would say around March.
Around March? Okay. March 2000?
Or 2001.
Okay. So you don't know how old she was?
No.
You don't know how tall she was?
No.
You know she was a dark-skinned black lady?
Yes.
You don't really recall whether she said she wasn't heavy set?
No.
Okay. Was she skinny?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I said no, sir.
What was she?
Sir?
How would you describe her body type?
I don't know. I'm not describing her body. I mean, I don't remember like what her body type was.
You don't remember anything about her then?
No. I just know that she knew how to drive. That's all I needed.
Okay. But you don't remember anything at all about the way she looked whenever you met her?
No.
All right. When you met her, how would you describe her personality? Was she quiet?
No, definitely not quiet.
Okay, so she was talkative?
Yes, she told me that she was originally from Georgia. She had family in Georgia and whatnot. I remember that.
Okay. And then after you met her in 2000, you maintained contact with her?
Yes.
Call her on the phone?
Sometime.
And you had other communications?
Yes.
How'd you communicate?
We met another time in Atlanta at another mall.
Okay. So you met her a second time?
Yes.
What she look like?
A black woman.
I'm sorry?
A black woman. I don't.
A black woman?
Yes. I meet with people all the time on the street, so I don't quite remember.
Yeah, but this is a girl that's running drugs for you, running up money.
She was one of maybe 100 that were doing the same thing, so I don't remember all of it, or what they look like.
Okay. Now, at some point you said you met Angel Avila.
Yes.
Where'd you meet him?
The first time we met, I want to say it was at Farley's On Buford Highway in Atlanta.
Buford Highway in Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay. And what did he look like?
Tall, skinny, Colombian.
I'm sorry?
Tall, skinny Colombian guy.
Tall, skinny Colombian guy.
Yes.
How'd you meet him?
I met him through a friend of mine, Carlos.
I'm sorry?
I met him through a friend of mine, an associate of mine named Carlos.
Okay. And this meeting, did Carlos set it up? Was he there at this meeting?
Yes.
All right, so Carlos was there at the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. What did you and Mr. Avila talk about?
Drugs, money.
Drugs and money.
Yes.
You talk about anything else?
Yeah. We had a long night. We was in the strip club, so we talked about quite a few things.
All right, long night. Y'all went out strip clubs and stuff. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right, what else are y'all talking about?
Business, running stuff from Texas to Atlanta and from Atlanta to Chicago.
Okay. So y'all basically spent the entire evening talking and stuff with Mr. Avila, who was a tall, skinny Colombian guy.
Yes.
Okay. How tall?
I don't know. He's taller than me. That's all I know.
All right, you're 5'8"?
Yes.
Well, is he a lot tall? I mean, I'm taller than you. I'm 6'4". Is he taller than me?
I don't think so.
Close to me, though?
Maybe.
About 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in there?
I don't know. I just know he's taller than me.
Okay. Skinnier than me? Most people are.
Yeah, he's probably skinnier than me.
All right. So you had, and you talked to him that first time.
Yes.
You met off Buford Highway, and then you went on to the strip club and spent the evening together.
Yes.
Said I met him the second time.
We met at the strip club, actually. We all met up at Farley's.
Oh, so Farley's is a strip club?
Yes.
Okay, what time did y'all meet up?
I don't remember. It might have been maybe 10:30.
When was this?
This was like around 2001, I want to say.
2001?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what month 2001?
No.
No? Remember it was, Atlanta, you're talking Buford Highway in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Okay. You can get cold in Atlanta. Remember it was cold, hot? It gets hot in Atlanta too.
It wasn't quite cold, but what I consider to be cold, most people don't, so.
Okay. All right, you said you met him a second time.
Yes.
When was that?
I don't want to speculate the year, so I don't quite remember what year it was, but it was right before I got arrested. I got arrested in like 03, 04, so it was before that time.
So in 03, 04, you met him again?
No, it was before that.
Okay.
Before
so sometime between 2001 and 2003 when you were arrested?
Yes.
Where'd you meet him this time?
Atlanta.
Where in Atlanta?
The place called Grandma's Biscuits.
Grandma's Biscuits?
Yes, a restaurant.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's an all right restaurant.
All right. What'd y'all do then?
Me, him, and Carlos talked. We left there and went to Buford Highway Flea Market, where Carlos had a business inside the flea market. He had a jewelry store and a photo lab in there. So.
Okay. You said you went over there. Was Carlos with you initially, and you went over to, or did you meet up with Mr. Avila and then go meet Carlos at the flea market?
No, the three of us met at the restaurant. We
at
left
Grandma's.
there and went to the flea market, which is right down the street. It's on the same street.
Okay. What'd y'all talk about then?
We talked about a money situation. We was talking about prices and cars. At the time, I was having a problem renting cars from a particular exotic rental car company because a couple of my carriers had been busted in these cars, so the guy wouldn't allow us to rent cars anymore. So we had to figure out a different avenue of transportation.
All right. And how long did y'all spend it together at that time?
I don't quite remember. We left the restaurant. We was only in the restaurant maybe 30 minutes, but we spent quite a bit of time at Carlos's place. So.
Quite a bit of time. An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? What are we talking about?
I don't remember. We walked around, we went to Carlos's place, we sat, watched him do business, we had a conversation.
And then at some point, do you ever meet him again?
No.
You ever talk to him again?
Yes.
When?
I was already in prison. So, oh man, this had to be, I guess right before he was deported.
Okay. And when was that?
Sometime before '09.
Okay. So sometime between 2003 and 2009, you're saying you met up with him in prison?
No, I said I spoke to him before he was deported. He was in prison as well. I was in a different prison. He was in another prison.
Okay. How'd you get hold of him?
I got a hold of somebody that put us on the conference.
All right. So at that point, you're conference calling with him?
Yes.
All right. How long did y'all talk then?
Maybe 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yes.
That's quick. What y'all
Yes.
talk about for 3 minutes?
I just needed to know something. I asked him a question. I just needed to know an answer.
Okay. What was it?
I asked him, I asked him, did he have some information that I needed
What?
on somebody about narcotics?
About narcotics?
Yes.
Okay. Did he give you that information?
No.
All right. You ever talk to him again?
No.
So you talked to him 3 times total?
Yes.
Okay. 2 of them in person, 1 time on a 3-way phone call?
Yes.
All right. Spent all night with him the first time, hours with him the second time, and 3 minutes on the third time?
Yes.
All right. Brandy Peters, how often you talk to her?
Once I got to prison, quite regularly.
Okay. Did she come visit you?
No.
No? How'd you talk to her?
She had a friend, Shakia. Shakia would come and visit me at Martin.
Okay. Well, that's not talking to Miss Peters, so.
Well, I talk to her on the phone quite often.
Oh, you talk to her on the phone regularly?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point you said that you and Brandy's ran afoul, I guess. She owed you money.
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, when was that?
I guess this was around 08, 09 when things started to go bad.
Okay. And as a result of this, you said she owed you money?
Yes.
Okay. $90,000?
Around that area, yes.
Where do you keep this money?
What do you mean, why I keep money?
She owed you $90,000. Where would you keep $90,000? You said there's hundreds of girls that are out there that are doing these things for you on the same kind of thing that Brandy Peters was doing. You're in prison. Where are you keeping the money?
I move it around from people to people.
Moving around from people to people?
Yes.
Okay. You let other people.
And I stash money as well.
Okay.
Yes.
How you get the money?
What do you mean how to get it? I send people to transport it just like they do narcotics. They drop a car, pick up the money and take it where I need to take it.
Okay. And you're doing all this from prison?
Yes.
Okay. So you send people and you're entrusting people to go pick up hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're stashing it?
Yes.
Where's it stashed?
Atlanta.
Where in Atlanta?
It's in Atlanta.
Where?
In a house. Quite a few houses.
Quite a few houses. So you just stick these money in these houses?
Yes.
Where are they?
Atlanta.
Atlanta's a big city. Where in Atlanta?
The Fulton County area.
I'm sorry?
The Fulton County area.
The Fulton County area?
Yes.
Where in the Fulton County area?
I mean, what do you want? Like an exact address?
Yeah.
Or something? Yeah. I don't know the exact address.
Don't know the exact address with all those hundreds of thousands of dollars that are being stashed.
No.
Not a very good leader of this group if you don't know where your money's being stashed.
No. I keep good records.
Obviously not. You don't even know where it is.
I got it recorded. I got records.
I'm sorry?
I have records. I write everything down. I have a secretary.
You have a secretary?
Of course, yes, sir.
Does the, I guess you're in federal prison now, right?
Yes, sir.
Does the federal prison system supply you with a secretary?
No. No, sir. My secretary is free. I'm incarcerated.
Oh, secretary's free.
Yes.
All right. And is this secretary that you're making all these contacts with, or what?
Yes.
All right. Is it the secretary that ordered or helped you order the death of Brandy Peters?
No, sir.
No, it wasn't.
That's not part of her job.
Okay. Did you advertise the secretarial position and give duties
No.
and hire them, interview them?
No, sir. We don't advertise. I just find people that I feel that are trustworthy and reliable
How do you find them?
through other associates. The secretary I have now is one of my associate sisters.
One of your associate sisters?
Yes, sir.
What is this associate's name?
Carlos, the same guy that I'm always dealing with.
The guy that introduced you to Angel Avila?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's Carlos's last name?
Hernandez.
Carlos Hernandez.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's your secretary's name?
Selena.
Selena?
Yes.
What's her last name?
Hernandez.
All right, so I assume she's still single then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you had communication and you ordered a hit of Brandy Peters. How'd you go about doing that?
From prison. I was in Martin County prison in Florida in the state when I first found out that things was going south. I was moved to ACI and from there to Columbia.
What's ACI?
Sir?
What's ACI?
It's Apalachicola. It's not far from here. It's like maybe an hour or two from this area.
Okay.
And from there, I was sent to another prison. Once I got to that prison, Columbia, I was able to communicate more with my organization. I had a phone, so I was able to talk more with them, and that's when they informed me of what was going on. So from there, I was sent to FSP, Florida State Prison.
Okay.
Once I got to Florida State Prison, I began making arrangements to try to get to Capitol Circle.
Okay, so you made arrangements then. You're able to make arrangements as to what prison you go to?
No, sir. You just have to do certain things to get to certain places.
Okay. So while you're at Florida State Prison, you made arrangements to get to the prison there off of Capitol Circle here in Tallahassee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how'd you do that?
I threatened the governor.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you threatened the governor then to make sure that you could be transferred to the Florida State from Florida State Prison to the prison there
to the federal prison.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. When did you threaten the governor?
I think I wrote the first letter maybe in 2009.
2009?
Yes. It took maybe three times before they actually, the FDLE came to the prison, saw me, interviewed me, and whatnot. And about 4 months after that, the U.S. Marshals came and picked me up from the prison and transported me to Capitol Circle.
Okay. All right. And you felt that you had to get to the federal prison in order to, I guess, communicate better with your people?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you get to the prison here on Capitol Circle, and that's when you made the order, or what? Or had you been setting it up at the other prisons as
yes,
well?
it was almost impossible to set it up the way I wanted to without having direct contact with a lot of these people. So once I got to Capitol Circle, it was easier because there's no block on the phone. You're not restricted on how many phone numbers. You can have 100 numbers on your phone in the feds, and you can call any number. So it's a lot easier. Plus, I had access to a phone once I got there. So.
Okay. So you used that phone access then to order this hit?
Well, not the jail phone, but my phone access and the mail services, yes.
All right. So you're in communication with somebody saying that I want this hit done?
Yes.
Okay. Who'd you contact in order to do it?
What do you mean? Repeat the question again.
Who did you contact in order to do the hit for Brandy Peters?
I contacted one person, Carlos. Told him I needed to take care of this immediately.
Where was Carlos living?
In Atlanta.
So Carlos is constantly stayed in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay.
exception of taking the trips maybe, once or twice a year to Hawaii or Chicago. He was pretty much based in Atlanta.
All right. So you contacted Carlos.
Yes.
Hey, Carlos, I got to have this girl taken out.
Yes.
Okay. You tell him who she was?
Yes.
Okay. What'd you tell him?
I told him about the girl that I hired out of Tallahassee. He knew her, so it wasn't like he didn't know who she was.
Oh, okay. So he had met Carlos. He had met Brandy before.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So you tell Carlos we're done. We got to take her out.
Yes.
All right. So what happens next?
They put together a team to carry out what I wanted done.
All right. How they pick out that team?
Well, there's quite a few ways this has to happen. There's a lot of people that had vested interest in what had taken place. She not only stole from me, but other people. So.
Okay.
All of these groups got together and decided that this had to happen, and then, I gave her an opportunity to at least give us some of the money or some of the product back before we did this, because she had been good to me while I was on the street, so I didn't want to be too hasty to just, pull the plug. But
So it's all these groups then that decided to take out Miss Peters.
yes, all of us that work together, the Lords, the Zetas, yes.
Okay. So are you in communication with them as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did you call them on your phones?
No, I had my secretary called.
What groups are we talking about here?
Vice Lords and La Zetas, the groups that I deal with.
Okay, the Los Zetas and the Vice Lords.
Yes.
Okay. And Los Zetas are a Mexican cartel and the Vice Lords are a organization out of Chicago, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Never lived in Chicago, have you?
Yes, sir, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that in between Atlanta?
Say that again.
When did you live in Chicago?
The 90s, I guess I went there in like 95, 96.
95, 96, you went up to Chicago?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So is it just Carlos you're talking to, or are you talking to members of each one of these organizations in order to make this hit happen?
Well, he is a member of the Zeta, so he pretty much speaks for them. I'm a member of the Vice Lords, so I pretty much speak for Vice Lords.
Okay. So he's a Zeta and you're a Vice Lord?
Yes, I'm a board member of the Vice Lords.
A board member?
Yes, sir.
Y'all have like an entire structure?
Yes, sir.
You got CEOs?
No, you have a chairman of a board and you have board members.
Okay. How many board members you got?
35.
35 board members?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Y'all must have good retirement packages and stuff.
No.
No? Okay. Well, that seems like a lot of work then to not get any retirement packages there. All right, so y'all are in communication. You decide this hit squad needs to come forward.
Yes.
And you said how many people are on that hit squad?
7.
7? Where are they from?
A couple of them was from here, like maybe 2 or 3 of them was from Tallahassee.
2 to 3 from Tallahassee?
Yes.
Where else?
Chicago.
How many from Chicago?
The rest of them.
All right, so
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about 4 to 5 then from Chicago.
Yes, sir.
All right. Who are they?
The female was from Chicago,
What was her name?
and I don't remember her name.
Don't remember her name.
No, sir.
All right. So you have 1 female, leaves 6 males. What's their names?
Jit
Jit.
is one of the ones I remember.
And that was, what was his real name?
Paramore or Padmore, whatever.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Paramore or Padmore or something like that.
Padmore, Paramore, something like that?
I just call him Jit, but his name is Paramore. We don't use names in my circle. We don't go by, you know.
All right, what was the female's nickname then, if you don't use names?
I don't know her nickname.
You don't even remember her nickname?
No.
All right. So you got the female, you got Jit, who else?
Angel.
Angel's one of them.
Yes.
Okay, where was Angel coming out of? Is he local or is he from Chicago?
He was coming, probably from Atlanta at the time.
All right, so let me back up then. You said there's 2 to 3 of them coming out of Tallahassee and 4 to 5 of them coming out of Chicago.
Yes.
But Angel's also coming out of Atlanta.
Yes.
So really we got somebody coming out of Atlanta as well.
Yes.
All right, so is he a 8 guy or is he part of that 7?
No, he's part of the 7.
All right, so really what we're looking at then is 2 to 3 out of Tallahassee, 3 to 4 out of Chicago, and 1 out of Atlanta?
Yes.
All right, so you got Angel in there. Who else?
The rest of these people, I don't remember them. Carlos picks the group.
Was Carlos part of it?
No.
All right. Do you know whether or not the other persons are male, female?
No, I just know it was one female.
You know there's 1 female?
Yes.
You know it was Jit, it was Patamore or Paramore,
Yes.
and Angel
Yes.
of either.
Yes.
The tall, skinny Colombian guy.
Yes.
Okay. And you don't know anything about the other persons?
No.
What'd you tell them to do?
Well, I instructed them to kill her for robbing us, pretty much.
Okay. Give me any other instructions?
Yes. They were supposed to dig up her yard to see if she had any money or drugs buried, but that didn't happen.
Supposed to dig up her yard, make sure there's no money or drugs buried?
Yes.
Okay. So they must have brought a shovel with them then, right?
I assume so.
Okay. All right. So they're digging up the yard to see if she had hidden any money or drugs in the yard.
Yes.
What else? Tell me any other orders?
No.
No, that was it?
That's pretty
Kill her and dig up the yard.
Yes.
All right. Did you tell them when to do this?
No. I was trying to get her to come to Atlanta for Thanksgiving, but it didn't work. We had conflicting schedules. I wanted to do it in Atlanta, actually, and not in her home. But for some reason, I couldn't get her to go to Atlanta.
So you were trying to get her to go to Atlanta.
Yes. I promised her a car, a Mercedes.
And she wasn't having any of it.
No.
She didn't want any association with you at all, did she?
No.
So as a result, what? What happened?
As a result, they had to travel here to do it.
All right. So where did they meet up?
I don't know. I'm incarcerated. I wasn't part of the team.
All right. So you did all this while you were incarcerated in federal prison.
Yes.
And you went to federal prison because you believed it was easier
It was a lot easier
to access people than it was in state prison.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So in your testimony that they carried out this hit on Miss Peters.
Yes.
Okay. What did they tell you afterwards?
About a day after she was murdered, the cops came to my unit and took me to the SHU.
To the what?
To the SHU, Special Housing Unit.
Okay.
I stayed there a couple of weeks. And then some detectives came and saw me.
Okay. All right. Did you ever talk to Carlos afterwards about the murder?
Yeah, months later.
All right. Mr. Santos, you have a lot of answers to a lot of questions. Got a lot of details. Isn't it true, Mr. Santos, that you've been previously diagnosed with schizophrenia and delusions of grandeur?
No, sir.
Oh, it's not.
You mean diagnosed, or have I been to see a psychiatrist?
You don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to see some counselors in prison, yes, but I'm not diagnosed with anything.
You're not?
No.
showing you a report from Dr. Brady Hudson, compiled on August 3rd, 2017. Read that paragraph about its conclusion.
Despite this additional
You don't have to read
information.
out loud, leave it yourself. Isn't it true, Mr. Santos, that he diagnosed you with delusional disorder of grandiose type?
Yes, that's what he said.
And in fact, you've been previously diagnosed with schizophrenia, correct?
No, I'm not schizophrenic or delusional, whatever he said.
He also said your grandiose statements are prominent for narcissism and antisocial personality traits, correct?
Yeah, he also said that I was competent to stand trial. So I mean,
Well, those are entirely two different things.
if I
You're saying you've never been diagnosed as schizophrenia?
no,
Okay. Now, Mr. Santos, that's not your original name, is it?
yes, I used the alias Otis Jackson, Otis Milton Jackson, Silas Muhammad, Malik Johnson. I have quite a few aliases, but Santos is my name.
Okay, so you've used a number of different names.
Yes. The
I
whole
noticed
time I
one
was
of
in
them-
Georgia, I used the name Otis Jackson.
Okay.
When I'm in Chicago, I'm Malik Johnson.
All right. And you are, I noticed one of those was Muhammad, and I'm certainly not saying anything, but are you a Muslim?
Yes.
Okay. Give me 1 moment. Again, I'm showing you the judgment of conviction certified out of the state of Nevada.
Looking at page 5 again, read it yourself if you could.
Yes, sir. You do understand that this is something that I told them. That's not their conclusion. That's something that I told them.
You told them that you were schizophrenic, right?
I told them I had been in a mental health hospital, and the reason why we use this game in prison is because most of the women staff in prison works in the psych ward. So in order to get interviews from women, you go to the psych ward if you want to see a pretty girl in prison.
Your Honor, I would move the state of Nevada conviction, certified copy into evidence. The state's exhibit number 152, I think we're on.
Is there objection? There, be admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Right.
This is the line we're talking about where you said that you specifically reported that you have schizophrenia and you spent time in the Georgia Mental Hospital, correct?
Yes. That never happened.
Never happened.
No. If you contact any Georgia mental hospital in the state of Georgia, they've never seen me.
And that's you from Nevada prison, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Using the name Otis Jackson?
Yes, sir.
And actually, you didn't even spell it right at one point or another. You just changed it from Otis to Otis, correct?
Yes, with the D, yes.
In fact, when you signed your name here, it says Otis Jackson, and you actually signed it Otis Jackson.
Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, I move Brady Hudson's report in as state's exhibit number 152B. 3.
Is there objection?
Dr. Hudson's report? No, Your Honor.
Right, be admitted.
And this is what we're talking about, where he concluded that you were in fact delusional disorder,
particular grandiose type, and that he is prominent narcissistic and antisocial personality traits. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit more about that trip in prison there in Nevada.
When you get a stopping point, Mr. Hughes, we're probably due for a break,
If I can just complete this one last thing before we start going next one, please.
whatever works for you.
All right, thank you. You were incarcerated for that particular crime from October of 13th of 1997 until December 22nd of 2000, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Do those dates again, please.
Yes, sir. October 13th, 1997 to December 22nd of 2000.
Yes, sir.
All right. Isn't it true that during that incarceration, you contacted the Federal Bureau of Investigations and told them that you had committed a murder and were involved in the shooting of a cop in March of 2000 in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
All right. And you couldn't have because you were in prison in Nevada, right?
No, sir. I got out of prison in 2000 in February. I was on house arrest when the murder took place. You might want to check that out. I was on house arrest. I was staying at 2380 Jernigan Street, Southwest Atlanta.
You just said that you were incarcerated in Las Vegas in 1997 through December of 2000.
I went back to prison after that shooting. I was violated and sent back to prison after the police shooting. That's why it says BP by my name. That's parole violation. If you look at the photo, it says BP beside my number. That means parole violation.
You violated your probation because you went back to prison.
Exactly. I violated after the shooting.
You were interviewed by the Federal Bureau of Investigations for that out there in that Nevada prison, were you not, in July
Yes, sir.
of that year?
Yes, sir.
And he ruled you out and said you did not commit that murder in Las Vegas, correct?
I don't know what
that murder in Atlanta.
I have no idea what his conclusion was, sir.
All right, you weren't arrested for it, were you?
No, sir, I was not.
In fact, another person was tried and convicted.
Jamil Alameen, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And once again, it seems to me like you were getting a lot of
I was shot that day.
I'm sorry?
I was shot March of 2000. It happened March 17th of 2000.
Your Honor, we can take a break right now. Come back.
Okay. All right, we'll take 10 minutes. Either side need anything?
No, Your Honor.
I do have a couple questions. All right, we'll stand here. Mr. Brent, everybody be seated or step out.
I was going to ask you first before I got into any of this, since it's all outside the scope of what the court was, had previously ordered before I did redirect. So the first thing I wanted to ask about was that a line of questioning that Mr. Fuchs engaged in appeared directed at showing that he didn't actually know Mr. Avila. There's a prior consistent statement from 2015 before I was involved in the case, and there's a transcript for it on page 83.
I'm not done yet, Your Honor.
What's that?
I'm not done yet.
We'll deal with that when it gets done.
I'm sorry?
We'll see when he gets
Okay.
through.
All the rest of the questions are about whether I can get into various things on redirect. You prefer to say
Okay,
this?
let's get through cross.
Yes, sir.
All right, take 10 minutes.
Thank you.